Okay. Is that any better this time?
Just speak for a little bit.
Oh, you were a bit breaking up then. Yeah, how's that?
It's not terrible. It just keeps going in and out. It's really weird. It's like some weird noise. It's like a robot noise on top of the
Mm.
voice.
Oh, wow.
I
I
think you
think
need to stay back a bit.
Yeah, okay. I'll stay back.
I can't hear anything, so maybe if they have the audio as low as me, then they won't either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
maybe.
might be an audio level thing. Yeah, they were having trouble with Ring Central with Marie Claire. She was having real trouble, but only for some people. Some people were hearing it okay and not others. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
can't,
I would just switch off if I could hear that. It would drive me mad.
I can't hear anything with Tracy. I know when Mary
Yeah.
Jane was speaking, I could hear like clicks all the
Yeah, I
time,
could hear it as well.
but with Tracy, I can't hear anything.
That's
Right.
weird. I
So
wonder
I
if it's because I've got headphones
suggested
on.
it maybe suggests it's Ring Central, but I can't. I don't. Yeah, I've kind of got to be calm and ready to go now, so I can't like mess around. I've just got to be ready to do it.
Okay.
Need more screen space. Right, so I am going to start sharing my screen so that's ready to go. Okay.
Yeah.
All good.
That was good.
You can see a little bit to the left for some reason.
Yeah, let's try.
No, I think it's all right. It's all right now.
I'm just going out and back in because but that's not full screen. So.
How do I share my screen? Because I've got to share it, haven't I?
There's a share menu icon. Open the share menu.
Yeah, and if you two can kind of keep a bit of conversation going in the chat once it starts, like replying to people, because I can't have the chat open as well. There's not quite enough room. So
Yeah, I think we're starting.
that's okay. Well, I think we're live. Can we get some thumbs up in the chat if you're hearing us? Yeah, good, excellent, excellent. Well, welcome. It's lovely to see you all here. I'm Tracy, and I'm joined today by my co-founders at Flip Computing, Liz Smart and Rebecca Franks. So they're in the chat at the moment. We founded Flip Computing to change who gets to create the technology. And FlopXR has come out of our work in technology education. And as you heard in the earlier session, education is one of the strands that Women in Games is focusing on. So we've been invited along today to talk a bit more about what's happening with FlopXR and how you might be able to use it as a Women in Games ambassador. So FlopXR is a free 3D creation tool for young people aged 9 to 14 plus, but we keep expanding that range a little bit younger and a little bit older. So we've heard that it's actually really useful for older beginners as well, who didn't come into gaming when they were younger or didn't come into creating technology when they're younger. So that's kind of where we started, but it kind of is broadening out from there. So FlopXR it's designed for everyone. We always say it's for everyone, but we've designed it to make sure it appeals to girls. So this is unlike so many other technology education tools where they're designed by men and they mostly appeal to boys. So it's absolutely for everyone, but our real focus has been making sure it's inclusive and it does appeal to girls. So I am just going to try and see if I can get that back so that you're not seeing a little bit around my screen. Let's just okay, so hopefully you are seeing a little example there of one of our projects. So this is what FlockXR looks like. So to give you a little bit of context, this is Candy Dash. So this is a little seasonal game that we've made. So FlockXR runs in a web browser. It runs on desktop computers and it runs on mobile devices too. It doesn't require any subscriptions or logins, and it's absolutely free and it's open source. So you can code 3D interactions using a block-based language. You can run fun games like this Candy Dash game, and you can learn key concepts that are used in professional 3D tools. So current status is FlockXR is in early access, and we're busy working on our next release. But before we tell you any more about FlockXR itself, it's probably a good time to introduce ourselves. So I am Tracy Gardner. I'm a computer scientist, and for many years, I worked at IBM on visual coding tools for adults, for business professionals, and on other software that's used in industry. And then I got interested in the future generation, and I moved into technology education. So I've created lots of resources for children of all ages, from really young children through teenagers, and then adults right through to mid-level professionals. So also for this community, I've been a gamer since I was a child. So I started creating games on my Sinclair Spectrum computer when I was about 10. And I've got a whole history of games through various points in my life. I love a bit of VR. And my favourite game of this year is Blueprints. That's one that I've really been enjoying over the last few months. So definitely recommend if you haven't played that. So I'm a Women in Games ambassador. I also co-chair the education working group at the Metaverse Standards Forum, where we're looking at how we introduce extended reality, virtual reality, metaverse technologies into the world of education. I'm the creator of FlockXR and the lead developer. And I'm really pleased today to be joined by my co-founders and co-creators of FlockXR, Rebecca and Liz. So they're actually going to introduce themselves as they're here. So first, I'll hand over to Rebecca.
Hi everyone. I'm Rebecca Franks and I am the Chief Learning Officer at Flip Computing. I've been a bit of a Nintendo geek or fan since I was about 8 years old, when I received my Game Boy and annoyed my parents with the Tetris theme tune for hours on end. They did buy me some headphones eventually to stop the noise, so that pleased them no end. You can see from that image there that I'm a bit of a Zelda fan too, with over 235 hours of gameplay on Tears of the Kingdom. I was very sad to say goodbye to my horse Ember. And if you watch any of my FlockXR demonstrations, and you'll probably see it later today, I always call my character Ember in kind of like recognition of my lovely horse that I have in Zelda. I really enjoy gaming, designing my own games, and also teaching young people to create games that they love too. I was a computing teacher for over 15 years. I met Liz and Tracy at a charity that we were working for. And we launched Flip Computing. We're getting close to 3 years ago now. Like it's all, about 2.5, just over 2.5 years. And I recently found out that I was a winner of the Tech Women 100 award. So I'm really excited to collect that next month in London. And our FlockXR tool, it just has to exist. It absolutely has to, so that everyone can have access to the technology that enables them to create the games that they really want to play. And I'm going to be running the hands-on session a bit later, so I shall see you then. And before that, I shall pass you over to Liz.
Cheers, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. It's good to meet you. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Flip Computing. I got my title wrong. That's not the best way to start things, but never mind. My first love, I reckon, was my Amiga. So I used to love getting the monthly magazines with, the random free little games that were on it. And that definitely got me into it. Nowadays, I've been playing the climb a lot, so my arms are really achy all the time. But I'm enjoying that and looking around all the scenery. And I basically can't pass any arcade machine without playing it and trying to beat my kids as well. Very symbolic of a misspent youth, I think. Yeah, they're my go-tos. So in my spare time, I run a code club for young people, and I attend co-working days at the Game Tech 365 community in Media City, near where I live. And I've just finished my Arts Award for 3D modelling in Blender as well. So I'm going to pop off for a bit, but I'll be back for the Miro board session later. And yeah, now basically you know about us, so it's time to go back to FlockXR, so I'll hand you back to Tracy.
Thanks so much, Rebecca and Liz. Yeah, it's lovely to have you both here as well. I did do a quick intro to FlockXR in a previous Women in Games meetup, but I was on my own there, so it's lovely to have you both here. So with FlockXR, we're going to tell you a little bit more about it now. So FlockXR is a tool that's been created to help people learn 3D creation skills in a really accessible way that allows a lot more people to get onto this journey to the kind of wonderful world of creating games and creating technical creative technology projects and interactive entertainment, all these wonderful things that you can do if you master this skill set. So we know from our work with younger children that they love creating with code and technology in primary school. So is anyone familiar with the fantastic Scratch programming environment that's popular with younger children? So let us know in the chat if Scratch is something that you've used. We're getting to the point where lots of people coming into the industry got their start in school using Scratch, or in a club using Scratch, or just at home, with family, trying it out. And that's where they kind of got that love of kind of creating the technology. For me, it was on my Sinclair Spectrum. That's when I first started creating. I got that when I was about 10, and used to make games and make my poor younger sister play them and try them out for me. So yeah, let us know in the chat if you're familiar with Scratch. So the reason we mentioned Scratch is really, really popular. So in primary school, generally, girls love creating with Scratch just as much as boys. And then something goes wrong. It's around that sort of middle school age, and the girls just aren't as engaged anymore. So we were really noticing this. At the other side of this, we were creating a lot ourselves using Unity and the Unreal editor for Fortnite. So we were seeing the kind of professional tools the other side with sort of Unity and Unreal. And we created a lot of educational resources for teenagers. But they did require students to have a certain level of expertise already. And often they just didn't have access to the hardware, and they're quite hard to set up. And what we were finding was that when we were talking about Scratch to educators, they were saying, well, what next after Scratch? And when we were talking to educators about Unity and Unreal resources, they were saying, yeah, but we're not quite ready for that. What comes before? So, well, FlockXR is what comes before. So it didn't exist, so we kind of had to create it. So FlockXR allows you to learn 3D concepts directly in the browser to prepare for when you move on to using professional tools. So you can create a 3D environment, a full 3D interactive scene, just a few blocks of code, drag and drop blocks of code, just like in Scratch. And then you can personalize it really quickly. So we've built in lots of visual tools that are stepping stones towards the way you'd work in a professional 3D creation engine. So what can you do with FlockXR? So these screenshots, by the way, these are from FlockXR. So they use 3D models that have been created by Liz. So Liz talked about her kind of journey to learning Blender. Yeah, exactly. I can see lots of confetti. They're fantastic. So Liz has been on a kind of real learning journey, because we just weren't finding the kind of models that we thought would appeal to our audience. And yeah, Liz has got her skills there. So now when we get input from our community, we can just go, yeah, absolutely. We can create an elf. We can create a festival tent. That can all happen. So Liz makes those models. And in FlockXR, you can program animations using these cute models, including some new ones that Liz has created that you'll be one of the first groups to see some of these really new models. So what you can do is program. So you can see some code there, switch animation of cat to jump, wait 2 seconds, and then so on. So the code is quite readable, it's friendly, and some of the feedback we've got is it's actually kind of easier than working in Scratch, which is more kind of frame by frame animation. Here you can work much more like you would in a professional engine and just switch animation, play an animation. So you can program all kinds of interactive behavior, like getting a character to look at the player as they move around. You can use spatial audio, so that's where sound gets louder as you move closer to its source in the game. So we've built in lots of features like that. So one thing we've had to be really careful about is like balancing performance with putting in lots of fun features. So we've tried to really get this trade-off. So we get all these really kind of fun, creative features, but everything's still really fast and responsive, because that was some of the things we found that in the development environments and in the runtime environments for some other other tools that are out there, everything kind of is a bit slow. So kids just have not got the patience for that. It's got to be straight away. It's got to run. It's got to load in the browser quickly. You know, when you click something, it's got to happen. So we've really focused on that. So that's kind of constrained what we can do, but actually that's been a kind of good constraint. We've got a really nice set of features that young people can use. So some of the other things we've got is we've got the option to use pass-through camera for augmented reality. So this is something that Liz often does and her daughter does when they're out and about. They create a little project in FlockXR, and then they take it out and they kind of create a video with it against a real world background. And that's really fun. You can create 3D objects in Flock using visual tools and code blocks. And then you can actually create those objects on a 3D printer in the physical world. So that's kind of really fun. We're kind of still working on being able to do even more with that, but we've got the beginnings of that feature there. And that's kind of a really fun thing where you can model something. You can kind of walk around it in your 3D world, and then you can print it out and have it in the physical world. And another thing we have is you can use it for creating really interesting data visualizations. So Liz, in a previous role, was a data architect, so she's been really focused on making sure we do cool data visualizations in Flock, which is a really neat thing to be able to do. And of course, as you saw earlier, you can use FlockXR to create 3D games. So Flock has a physics engine in it, and it has all sorts of features you'd find in a modern games engine. So why FlockXR? What makes it unique? Well, our mission at Flip Computing is always to build things with an inclusion first approach. So we're all about inclusion. So this means trying to make the tool as accessible as we possibly can with the resources that we've got available, so that we can really focus on helping learners to thrive while using the tool. It should be fun, it should be engaging, it shouldn't feel like hard work. And as I've already said, it's open source. There are no accounts, there's no subscriptions. You just point your browser at the website and you're in, which is really important in classrooms to kind of get up and running quickly. We've co-designed the tool with young people. So Rebecca has run pilots with children in a number of schools, and that's really influenced both the design of FlockXR and the design of the learning materials that we use to introduce the concepts. So that's been invaluable. It's made a real difference to how we've kind of approached certain features. You never quite get it right. It's like user testing, play testing in any environment. Getting that real user feedback is just really important. And then on top of that, you know, FlockXR, it's built by experienced educators and technologists. We've been working in this space for a while, and we've really done our best to make sure that FlockXR is for everyone. So that was a quick introduction to FlockXR. So a little bit later, Rebecca is going to give you a hands-on session. She's going to go into teacher mode, and she's going to take you through and then give you some open-ended tasks. But before we go into that, I wanted to zoom out a bit and look at some of the digital technologies that we have in society and how we kind of communicate to educators and young people about that. These technologies are being used in gaming. In fact, a lot of them came from the gaming industry, but they're also being used in entertainment, fashion, medicine, and like so many more examples I'm sure you can think of. So we introduced the term XR, so as in Flock XR. So the XR stands for extended reality. So XR is an umbrella term that's used to capture different ways that combine the physical and digital worlds. So when we talk to educators about Flock XR, we explain the importance of these technologies in industry. So gaming and entertainment industries and much more broadly. So probably the most commonly known is virtual reality. So VR headsets are pretty well known, immersive technology where you can usually just see the digital world when you're using it. So VR often used for gaming, and it's growing up. You know, it's being used in concerts, meetings, training for surgical procedures is happening in the VR space. There's a lot of adoption of VR beyond just the consumer space. And then we've got AR, augmented reality. So it's kind of a digital overlay to help us with things in the real world. So you might have used a map tool that shows you directions through pass-through camera on your phone. You might have used augmented reality glasses that show you the weather, translate languages, or provide captions or update you on breaking news. Then there's MR, which can be merged reality or mixed reality, which goes beyond just overlaying digital objects and mixes the physical world and the digital world, and allows kind of objects to coexist in the same space and interact in real time, like creating a sense that virtual elements are really part of the user's environment. And we're seeing the term spatial computing used there as well. So there's lots going on. So personally, I love a bit of extended reality gaming. So I loved Asgard's Wrath on my Meta Quest, and most lunchtimes I go out for a walk and play Monster Hunter now. So I'm kind of obsessed with this stuff. So, as we said, technologies that originated in gaming are now used cross-industry. So one example is Niantic has moved their focus to industry use cases for geospatial computing. So the technology that was behind Pokemon Go is now being used in industry. So this is kind of how we try and communicate the importance of this to educators, because I think they don't always appreciate the size and scope of the gaming and entertainment industry, and they also don't understand the other applications of these technologies. So we always try and get that across. So here's a little example that we use of merged reality in the real world. So there's a theme park called Dream Park in Seattle, where you wear a headset that you can see things in the real world and the digital world, and then you interact with them. So these immersive experiences are becoming widely used in the creative and entertainment industries. And it's really important for young people to realise there are job opportunities creating experiences like this. Pretty cool. And then it's not just entertainment where these tools are being used. We're seeing it being used for medicine, in like training for lots of industries, even tests going on using VR in live surgery. So there's also a children's hospital, where VR is used to help young people relax when they're having procedures, when they need to be awake. There's also research going on into using VR for supporting mental health. 3D technology or immersive technology, spatial computing is being used in almost every industry out there. So architecture, education, fashion, engineering, theatre, retail, a really long list. So we see creating games and interactive entertainment as a really engaging way into many careers. So yes, we want to get lots of more people into gaming, creative technology, interactive entertainment, but also for a younger audience, it's just a fun thing to create, a fun problem domain to work in. And then you might go off into all sorts of different careers after that. So one of the things we also talk about is why 3D skills are important. And, we can extend this to kind of creative technology, gaming skills, extended reality, but just kind of focusing in on 3D. I've given you some examples of where 3D is being used. Let's look at the job market. So these stats come from the UK, but there are similar stats globally. So in the UK, job postings quadrupled from 2013 to 2019, and they continue to grow. Salaries for people with 3D skills are 30% above the UK national average. So there's a real demand for these skills. And if you have them, you're likely to earn a decent salary while using those skills. And one of the things that's fun to do is I quite like to go and search kind of 3D keywords in kind of LinkedIn on the jobs and see what comes up. And there's some really, really fun jobs that come up in really interesting industries for really interesting brands. And I know we're waiting for the impact of AI to shake out, but my instinct is that we're actually going to see more demand rather than less. So hopefully, as an industry, we'll do this right, and we'll automate the boring bits so that we have more time for the fun parts. And I don't know about you, contribute in the chat, but I kind of have this sense that if there were more women in the industry, we'd be more likely to make some good decisions about how we use AI. That's one to think about. Another stat that we use, and this really relates back to some of the discussions in the earlier session today. Currently, 70% of 3D learning is self-taught. So people are aware of the value of these skills and are teaching themselves how to use the tools. So this means that people rely heavily on free resources that are found online. So when we put out our resources for free, it's essential they're as inclusive as possible. So that's something really important. We know that lots of people, this is their way in through free resources they encounter on the internet. And we heard some of that earlier today as well. So another thing I really wanted to talk about is our focus on inclusion. So from day one, we really need to find and use inclusive assets. We've got to create accessibility features first, both in terms of how we create tools for the next generation and how we develop their skills so that they themselves can create inclusive games, interactive entertainment experiences for the next generation. So for us, we really focus on providing kind of tutorials that represent the whole community, that we make sure we've got a range of voices championing the sector. We use inclusive teaching practices. For example, we don't assume lots of prior experience. That's often one of the differentiators between male and female students, that the boys have often had a lot more access to opportunities, and that's where we see some of the differences. We really need to provide high quality explanations. We don't want people to be excluded just because we've used language that they couldn't access. And we need to design learning materials and tools that really meet a range of needs. So that's something we think about a lot. So as the tools grow, we want to make sure that the future is really focused on inclusion. So one of the examples for us was when we started creating FlockXR, we were using free 3D models. We didn't have Liz's wonderful models at that point. And it was actually really hard to find a starter set of assets that was really inclusive and representative of different ethnicities and genders. So what I actually did was I took some that were as good as we can get, and then I learned how to kind of customize them. So one of the things we had right from the start was the ability to customize the skin color of a character. So Flock's very visual. You can see a block there with a palette of skin colors on the left. So that's what's in our pilot. But then something interesting happened. We got feedback from one of our educators, one of our early adopter educators who was using FlockXR in a classroom, that his pupils were saying they actually wanted more options for skin tones. So they were actually comparing their skin tones to the palette of colors we had in FlockXR, and they weren't finding quite the right color. So he came to us with this, and of course we thought, well, we've got to sort that out. So for the next version, Liz researched a larger palette of skin colours. So people have a much better chance of finding a match. So if we need to, we will add more in future. So you can also choose any colour, by the way, for a skin colour. So people can create fantasy characters, or they can really customise. But we felt it was really important that it was really easy to get to skin tones, so that you weren't faced with characters that kind of didn't match the set of people around you who you might want to include in your project. So that's just sort of one example from many that we really try and focus on, making sure that we're developing a product that really works for the audience we want to reach. So now a question for this community, and kind of give your answers in the chat, and we'll have time for a bit of Q&A later. Are we adequately preparing young people for futures in 3D, in gaming, in extended reality? Are we getting them excited about using these tools? Is there equity of access to these technologies and high quality education in this space? So the use of 3D technologies is set to increase dramatically over the next 5 years, and it's a really engaging and creative space to be part of. We're definitely going to need creatives to build all these amazing worlds for us to interact with and explore. And it's really important that we're looking at how the world is changing, how careers are changing, and how we can prepare young people to really kind of thrive and find their way through to these careers. And, creating with 3D is really engaging for young people. So we really want to make sure that we provide routes through to the fab careers that we know are there if they get through and learn the skills. So this next slide is one that I've just added this morning because there's a new report out, right? There's a new report from the Royal Society, system upgrade required, which is about what we need to do to change computing education in the UK. And I know there are similar conversations going on in other parts of the world. So just one comment there immediately when I saw this. I've got to draw attention to that title, system upgrade required. Now, that for me kind of feels like it's a bit of an insider joke. That's kind of the language that perhaps doesn't include everyone. And I think that's kind of reflective of the kind of the stereotypical image that computing education has acquired for itself. So the report touches on lots of the current issues that we have. So, for example, it talks about barriers for girls to take part in computing education. So it says that girls say computing is too difficult. Now, I think what they're actually saying is that they're not engaged enough to put in the effort to develop the skills. It's not that it's too hard for them. We know that girls are just as capable with technical skills. It's not that at all. It's that they don't think it's worth the effort. So it feels too difficult because they haven't got the motivation to learn those skills. They say it's boring and not creative. Like, how have we done this? How have we done this to my amazing subject? You know, I love computing. I love creating with technology. I can't see how we have managed to make it boring and not creative. So there's a lot here around kind of careers. Young people don't have a lot of access to information about careers. They don't value computing skills. We can see their identity. They associate it with a masculine culture, not people like me. So there are lots of issues like this. So we've really designed FlockXR to be the complete opposite of this. There's a lot of people talking out there about the problems with computing education, particularly around encouraging girls into various areas of technology. We heard about the stats for the games industry, around 25%. It varies across different tech industries. Some are even lower than that. You know, it's certainly nowhere near equal. But there are some areas of computing and technology and creating with tech where there are more women. And that's something we've been inspired by, looking at the things that women do enjoy and making sure that we kind of reflect that into Flock. So, for example, we've designed Flock to be aesthetically appealing, right? This is important. That's not like a trivial thing. It's actually really important for engagement and feeling like this is something that you'd want to do. So we've really paid attention to the research, both the academic research and the kind of the user research that we've done with our community. So just sort of next slide is just a little aside. This is where we were yesterday. So we were showcasing FlockXR at a STEAM event for 10,000 young people at Thorpe Park. So the picture on the left is the calm before the storm. It was an exhausting day, but it was really rewarding. And it really showed that computing does not have to be boring. So young people were really engaged with creating 3D scenes, and many of them went far beyond what they needed to do to earn a stamp towards their next ride. And we found that young people just immediately get FlockXR, that they might have had experience with Scratch. They get it. And the girls were just as involved as the boys, right? There wasn't a difference. They were all loving it. And this was at ages 8 through I think 14. There were older teenagers there. And actually we had some older students who were there as volunteer helpers. And actually they got very engaged, some of them, and they were really loving creating with FlockXR themselves. So we really find that young people, they get 3D, right? They're there. They are already in this space. Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, all really popular. There are options to create content with Minecraft mods, Roblox Studio, UEFN, Unreal Engine, Fortnite that we've worked with. Young people love building in 3D, playing in 3D, and interacting in 3D. So FlockXR allows them to use this knowledge in the classroom. They can kind of bring what they know and build on that in the classroom. And we've designed Flock XR so that it works for all young people, regardless of their favorite 3D platform. So some people have sort of brought some of these tools into the classroom, like Roblox and so on. And, you know, that can be engaging for kind of one-off activities. But there are obviously teachers are cautious because of things like safeguarding issues and advertising and so on. And it also kind of tends to divide young people into their tribes. The other thing it does is these things come with their very much their own style and their own kind of set of rules. Whereas we've designed Flock XR to be much more open to kind of develop the next generation of IP creators. We want them to create, not just like reuse what other people have created. So within these popular platforms, there are lots of educational resources as well. Minecraft's probably the best established at this point. And people have also made their own learning experiences using tools like UEFN. So there's a popular example out there around the pyramids of Giza, where you can learn about ancient Egyptian history. So there's another example, actually. There's one that we made. So this is an earlier project from Flip Computing that Liz, Rebecca, and I made called Storytelling with Music. So we created a way for young people to learn how music is used to tell stories. So we linked to the key term leitmotif. So they learn what a leitmotif is and also how to pronounce it, which we did not know at the beginning of the project. And they see lots of examples of spatial audio, and then they create their own leitmotif for a character. So you can go on Fortnite, search for our island, learn about storytelling with music, and that's kind of pretty fun. That's a project that we did that kind of influenced Flock XR. And we had ideas that we could kind of do things with young people with the Unreal Editor for Fortnite. And we certainly have done that, but really it's older teenagers, the younger ones, needed something that was a bit gentler. So some of the ways we talk to educators about 3D is sort of two main uses in education. So we can teach how to create with 3D, use it, and we can teach how to learn in 3D with game-based learning. So you can teach with 3D. So we know 3D skills are really important for now and for the future development. So getting teachers to dedicate time in the curriculum to teach how to build 3D environments, create interactive behavior, use games engines and physics engines, that's really important. So we're kind of on a mission to get educators to realize like how important this is. So 3D is another tool in educators' toolboxes for making lessons much more engaging. And one of the things we talk to educators about is if they can upskill themselves in 3D, then they can actually create their own learning experiences that they can then use for their classes in cross-curricular ways. So there are free learning experiences out there to try that are game-based. Lots of off-the-shelf things that schools can purchase, but it's kind of cool if teachers can learn to do that themselves. So that's kind of one of the use cases that we're talking to educators about. Then just sort of one other topic we kind of wanted to touch on, again, linking back, people were talking about funding earlier. So how did Flock XR kind of come to exist? So I started building Flock XR in my spare time. It was an idea asking to be created. So I just started in my spare time that I don't have a lot of, but it's just one of those ideas. It just kept coming back to me, and it was just asking to exist. So after that, I kind of started showing early versions to Liz and Rebecca, and they kind of got hooked as well. And then we bootstrapped the development of the initial demo from the consultancy work that we do at Flip Computing as a technology education consultancy. So that got us to a point where we had a pilot that we could show to potential funders. We had tried to get funding for projects before that didn't quite exist, and that we found harder. But the development of the next release of Flock XR is partially supported by two grants. So we have a grant from the UK Games Fund in the UK, which is fantastic. So that supports studios to get a prototype up and running, so you can kind of get to the next stage. And then we have a grant from the European Union. This is from the NLNet Foundation, which supports open source technology. So that means Flock XR is open source. It's out there in the world for anyone to use, and people can contribute to it. I know people sometimes ask you in the UK, can you get European Union funding? The answer is sometimes. You have to read the small print. This one we could, and we did get funding. So we're really grateful to our funders they're funding this next release that we're currently working on, which you'll get a sneak preview of this afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are in the world. So yeah, that's been really helpful for us, but it's been a journey. And the thing we always say, yes, we got these grants. We got another one to develop the storytelling with music project that we showed you earlier. But there are also lots of grants that we did not get. Okay, so it wasn't like we just applied for 3 grants and we got 3 grants. That's not the story. But with these ones, we really connected, and we found that both of these organisations were just so well aligned with our mission that those have been really kind of positive experiences for us. The stage we're at now, we have a pilot version that's out in the world that people can use, and we have a paid lesson pack resource that you can purchase, that educators can purchase. So that's one of the ways that we're funding FlockXR. And we're also looking for industry sponsorship. We really think that the industry, tech industry in general, should really step up and support what we're doing here to develop the next generation. So people talk a lot about kind of diversity and inclusion, but we know that the age when you really need to reach young people is this kind of 9 to 14 age when they're making decisions about their future. So we kind of, we could really use a little more help from industry there, so that we can make sure that FlockXR continues to be free to students, to educators, and to anyone who wants to use it to kind of create in 3D. So that's really important to us. So we're figuring out the next stage at the moment, but we have funding to develop the next release, which we're hoping we will launch early next year. So we have a development version. One of the things we do is we develop in public. So you can always go to the FlockXR website. You can click Create with FlockXR in the top right to get our current pilot version. But you can also find out what we're up to currently and get access to our development version. So that version is updated regularly. You can see what we're up to. You can see the new features, that some of which we've talked about today. And that will just continue to be updated. And then we'll hopefully have a new release early in the year. Okay. So that's our sort of intro to FlockXR. And now I am going to hand over to Rebecca, who's going to tell you what's coming next.
Yeah, so before you go to a short comfort break, I'll just give you a little bit of a sneak into what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to be giving you a hands-on demonstration of FlockXR. I'll show you how to create a 3D world with just a few blocks of code and a short animation sequence. And this demonstration is for complete beginners, so I encourage everyone to have a go. I've done this with lots and lots of people, lots of teachers, lots of young people, and they all seem to be able to access this and get it and get something really creative made quite quickly. So I think you're going to enjoy this one. So a short 5-minute comfort break, and then we'll be back to do our hands-on session. So see you in 5 minutes.
Right, I think we'll just give it one more minute.
Do you want to stop sharing?
I will. Right, over to you.
Okay. I did say there we go. So I said 46 on the chat. I said I'll start at 46, so just in case. Fantastic. So I am on the FlockXR website. So flockxr.com is the website that you are looking for. And don't be tempted to click create with FlockXR, because that is our pilot version, and we're actually going to get you using our development version in this session. So you get to see some of our cool new features as well, which are quite fun to play around with, and our new characters as well that Tracy was talking about. So hopefully you've already had time to go to flockxr.com. And then to find the development version, you're just heading to About and then down to Versions. I think Liz has already put this in the chat for you, so you could just click that as well if that's easier. And then we go down to Versions, and we're going to open the development version of FlockXR, and it should open in a new tab. Now, it remembers the last program that you are making, so don't let that put you off. This is my son's Dijkstra's algorithm project, so we can ignore that. And we can actually, you've probably first opened it, I think probably that is what you can see, which is our lovely bird mascot that we've got there. If you click on it, it says hello, which is quite fun. But you're going to make your own completely brand new 3D world. So I'm going to show you how to do that. If I can get some like confetti or thumbs up or something like that to know that, okay, all right, this is good. Right, this is a good start. So we're going to start with a completely blank project. So we do that by going to demo up here, and then we go down to new. And then when we do that, we are then given a completely blank world. And I like to say to the young people, this is a bit like you're floating around in space now. There's nothing there. There's no planets to stand on or anything like that. We've got to actually build our world that we can walk around. And you might have noticed as well, we've got this bit of a slider thing in the middle, and you can make your canvas a little bit bigger if you want to. I like to have it a little bit bigger. And also you've got a plus and a minus here. So when we start bringing the code blocks in, we can make the code blocks a little bit bigger, just so that they're a bit easier to read if you need that. So let's start building our 3D worlds. I've got my blank one, and I'm going to create an event. So I go to the events menu in the toolbox here where it says event. And at the start of my program, so this start block here, I'm just going to drag that over. At the start of my program, I want something to happen. So first of all, I am going to create the sky in my 3D world. So I can go to Scene next, and there's a block there called Sky. So I can just click and drag that, and then I just snap it inside. If you've used Scratch before, this will be quite obvious, but if it's your first time using a block-based language, you can take a little bit of getting used to. So you just hover over and you see that you get a little yellow line appearing, and a little shadow. It's like, that's where my block's going to get dropped. So then I let go, and there we go. And you can see straight away, I've got a blue sky. The sky is blue. I can change it to a different color if I want to. I can have a yellow sky if I want to. So straight away, I've already got a yellow sky. But what if I want a gradient sky, a bit more interesting? So if I wanted to make my sky a little bit more interesting, I can go to the materials part of the menu. And we've actually got here a list of colours. So what I'm going to do now, if you watch carefully with this one, so I'm going to drag this and then I'm going to drop it on top of that block there. So that yellow one, you can see a little highlight appears. And then once that highlight's there, I let go. And now I've got a much more interesting sky to look at. What I like to do is do two blues fairly close to each other because I think that looks quite moody. So that creates a lovely gradient sky, and you can really play around with those colours and get some really interesting effects going on with those two colours. So my 3D world now has a sky. So now I want something to walk on. So I'm going to go to scene again. And we've got a ground block which just has one colour, but actually a much more interesting block is the map block. So this is a really long, big block. And I'm going to drag it on underneath. So if you look now, you can see I can drag it underneath like that and it snaps open and then I let go and now I've got a ground. And just to make you realize it is 3D, if I click and hold on my canvas, you can see now there's my map, there's my space to walk on. And you can also see the sun or the light shining on the ground there. And then if you want to reset your camera after having a little look around, you just press play and that just resets it. But the ground gets a lot more interesting than this. And this is what the young people really love to do. And I'm sure you will as well, because I do too. There's lots of different styles of map to choose from. I'm going to go with checkerboard, I think. So you start to see little bumps like that on your ground, which is quite interesting to look at. In fact, I'm going to try, I think, what shall I do? I'm going to go random hills. Let's go random hills. There we go. And press play to just reset my camera. And then you might have already noticed there's different materials to choose from. There's loads of new ones as well, which Liz has been adding. I think I'm going to go for this one. Ooh, that's an interesting one. And then you've got colours as well, so you can put different colours. So if you want like a wooden floor maybe to go with that, that's interesting. And then alpha at the end. 1 is completely solid, 0.5 is kind of see-through. So if you use a lower number, a decimal number, you start to see, you can actually see through the map there, which has quite an interesting effect as well. But I'm going to keep it as 1. So just at this point, the young people are just so engaged because they've got, if you notice there's kind of 3 blocks really that they're using. I know you're dragging that list as well. It's just a few blocks, but imagine the personalization that you see in the classroom when you've got 30 young people all choosing different colors, different materials. Some have alpha, some don't, different map styles. So yeah, it's all the same blocks. For teaching, it's really, really easy in a way, because it's just like drag these blocks in, change these things, and they're just away, they're engaged, absolutely loving it. So I have got lots of things that I can do here to make it sort of refine it. So you could sit there quite a while and really play around with this and get engrossed with it. So that is my sky, my gradient sky. I've got my map to walk on. Now I'm going to bring in a character. So I like to drag in another start for this, but you can just keep going inside this start block if you want. So you can have as many starts as you want, and the code will just start at the start. So I'm going to go to events and I'm going to drag in another start block because I just like to keep it tidy and have things separate. So now I'm going to add in a character. So I'm in scene again, and we've got this objects part. So I'm going to click objects. And then here we've got a really long block here, and it's add a character block. So I'm going to drag that in, and straight away I've got my lovely cat there in a T pose. If you don't know what a T pose is, it's just the default thing that 3D animators use when they're building their models so that they can see all around the character. So we are going to make it a bit more interesting very shortly and get it moving around. You can give your character a name. So I'm going to go to this drop down here and I'm going to rename it. And I did promise you I would call it Ember. I call every character Ember. The main character is always Ember. And the thing that gets really, really exciting is you've got all of these characters to choose from. So I'm going to go for our new elf character because I haven't used this a lot in demonstrations yet. This is our brand new character. I think it was about a week ago this was made. Yeah, that's right, Liz. You've got a scale, so if you want to make it look a little bit larger, you can do so. 1.2 will make it a little bit larger. 0, 0, 0 is just where it is in the 3D world. So those XYZ coordinates, 0, 0, 0 is exact right in the middle. And we don't need to move it just yet. We might want to move it later, but we can just leave it at that. And again, look at all the options we've got to customize this. So you can really start to think, right, I'm going to make my character, I'm going to make it really interesting. They might start, the young people might start thinking, oh, I'll make it look like my favorite character that's in the cartoon or the book that I read or the game that I play, and they'll start to build a story around it and really kind of take ownership of that character that they're making, which is really fun. So you can have, I'm going to just go for pink. I might go for green eyes. Should we go for green eyes? I haven't coloured in this character yet, so I'm not sure in my mind what this character should look like yet from my point of view. I'm going to go with black shorts and white detail. Okay, right. So I'm getting there. So I've chosen a character. I've given it all the colours that I like. I've given it a name, and I've made it a little bit larger. So my character is there. Is everyone okay at this point? Like, yeah, we're getting some confetti. All right. I just want to make sure I'm not going too fast or too slow or anything like that. But do jump in if I am going too fast. So we've got Ember. Let's make her move. So I'm going to go to Animate, which is this one here in the toolbox. And we've got switch animation of Ember to idle. So I'm going to drag that in. And there we go. And then when I press play, my character now comes to life a little bit because it's doing this idle pose, which is just an animation. It usually, if the character isn't really doing much, and you'll have seen like a non-playing character in the distance in a game, they just kind of stand there still, or they might be walking around a little store or something like that. They'll just be doing that default sort of idle pose, just so that they don't look really static, because that would be quite boring. So we've got our idle pose, but there are loads and loads of animations to choose from. I'm going to go with wave because I want my character to wave at me, which is always very exciting, and I always wave back naturally every single time. So my character is now waving at me. I love the little smile on the character. It's very cute. So I'm going to get it to say hello now. So I'm going to go to the text one. And we've got this block here called the say block. So I'm going to drag that one underneath. Hold on, there we go. There we go. So if I just keep the block like that and press play, it just says hello, because you'll probably notice in that box there, it says hello. So I can keep it at that for 3 seconds at the moment. So I can increase the time that it talks if I want to. You've got options for the colours. So if you want some different colours when it pops up, so if we go for slightly like a blue text, maybe, let's see what that looks like. Yeah. You can increase the size if you want to make it bigger or smaller. And again, you've got this alpha. So if you want to make it a little bit transparent, then you can do that too. I think I prefer it full though. I'm going to do.
Rebecca, we just had a question in the chat about Can you choose non-human skin tones?
Yes, you can. So if you want a different skin tone for your character, so yeah, the default is to have skin tones, but if you want to make it a fantasy character with different colors, then you can go to materials, and you'll probably notice that there's a block of color here. And if you just drag that onto the skin there, you can then make it any color you want. So if you want a green character, for example, then you can make it green like that. But if you don't, then you can just drag it off, put it in the bin in this tool, just drag it back to the toolbox, and that gets rid of it. I'm glad you're excited about that. Yeah, there's lots of different characters that you can make, which is really, really cool. So we've got sky, we've got map to walk on, we've got character, it's animated, it's saying hello at the moment. Now, I'll show you what this bit at the end means just in a second, and that's a bit of a clue to what's coming up. But what I can actually do is I can duplicate blocks as well. So I've got this switch animation block here, and I'm going to duplicate it because I want it to do a different animation after it said hello. So I'm going to change it to run. Now, the clue is kind of here, but I want you to try and make, as we look at this, I want you to try and make, I'm just laughing at everyone in the chat. I'll try not to look at the chat. So I'm going to press play, and I want you to make a prediction about.
Rebecca, sorry,
What?
just in the chat. Can you show again how to drag the color block in?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Missed that. And I'm going to also ask you to demonstrate the new color picker to choose the skin with like any color as well, because I think color has got everyone's attention.
Yeah, I'll do that in a second. So the one way to do it is materials here, and then you've got a block here, and then you just drag it onto the skin, and then you can just choose any color. So the default there is purple. And if you don't want it, you just drag it off. So that's one way. And then, yeah, we can do the color picker. I'm going to take that off because we've ruined it now. We've ruined what the prediction is. Everyone knows the answer now. So if we go to color picker, you can also choose any color you want from the color picker. You can click this bar here or that paint bucket there, and then you just click where you want to color it in, and you can change the color like that. So that's just another way to change the color. So if you wanted it to be red, then you just click it, and there you go. So there's different ways to do the colors. Right, I need to find the skin color again now. There we go. Oh no, I'm gonna get stuck. Can I get rid of it? No, there we go. The skin color's back there. There we go. I can't remember what it was now. I'll just go with that one. Right. So did we all see that? The color, we've got a color picker here as well, where we can just click on things and color things in. And you can do that with anything that's on the screen. So really you can just sit there for ages and just color things in, which is absolutely fine. Like that is one of the things I just really enjoy doing. So yeah, you've had your little clue now. I did duplicate it. And I put it underneath, and I wanted you to kind of predict what you thought might happen when I pressed play, because young people might think, or if you're new to this, you might think, right, okay, it's going to wave, then say hello for 3 seconds, then it's going to run. But actually, if I press play, it looks like it just starts running straight away. And that's because it has run this block for like a millisecond, gone straight to this one. And because it says start at the end, that just means start the next block straight away. So if I change it to a wait, then it will wait till those 3 seconds have finished, and then it will start running. So if I press play now, you can see it waves, says hello for 3 seconds, then it starts running. So it's all built into that one block. So yeah, even though there's a lot going on with that block, the young people just find it, they just get it, and they love changing it. And this just saves them time having to drag in another block to add in a delay. but it also gives the option that if they want to do something different, then they can. So it's just giving them all those different options, but making it really, really accessible straight away. So if you're following along, just make sure that you've changed that to a wait, so that it waits for 3 seconds while it says hello, and then it starts running. And I'll just show you that again. So it waves and says hello. I'm still waving at it. And then it starts running. And now you can start to build a whole sequence. So I can duplicate this, and I can change this text to "I love running." And if you have a Windows keyboard, I know it's Windows dot or Windows full stop, and you get the emoji keyboard come up. And then you can put a little emoji in there as well. So "I love running," like so. So now it says hello and waves, and then it starts running. So you can start to really build up some imaginative storytelling here. So young people might do a story, one of their favorite stories. They might replay it. They might teach you something that they've learned in a lesson in a different subject. They might do like a karaoke thing of their favorite song where it's doing the song lyrics. So there's lots of different things that they can do to build a sequence and have an animation going on with it. And if you are doing that, if you've got this far, you might have scrolled down and seen that we've got different dances, which are quite fun. So you can actually get it to do a whole dance routine while it's doing the favorite lyrics from your song, which is quite a nice thing to do. So hopefully you're seeing, we know that personalization, customization is really, really important to young people, particularly girls and creatives. And this absolutely allows them to do that. So as a teacher, you're quite comforted by the fact that they're all learning the same thing, which is useful for teachers when you've got to plan a whole curriculum and have a whole structure. But actually, they've got so much freedom in what they're doing in the lesson, and they really, really do take ownership of it. And they love sharing it with the person next to them as well, like and coming up with different ideas, which is really, really exciting in the classroom. And also, it's so wonderful to look around the classroom as a teacher and just see every single screen is completely different. It's just lovely. You get so excited when you're teaching it. It's really, really fun. So there's my animation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you, you can actually move around. I've shown you that part, but also if you're clicking in the canvas, you can actually use the arrow keys on your keyboard and move around. So I'm just using the up arrow on my keyboard, and I can move around my 3D world. So that sort of gives them something exciting to do. Just have a little wander around and take a look. And you can look at your character with different angles, which is quite fun. And then you can just press play, and that resets the camera like so. So that's really fun to do. Even more fun when you know how to do the next bit that I'm going to show you. So we've got this part under here, which is more of your sort of 3D modeling, environment design, that kind of side. So when you want to really build something and make something beautiful like a scene, these become really, really handy at this point. So I'm going to click the plus. And if we look at this second row here, there are loads of options to choose from for different models that you can place into your scene. So I'm just going to place a tree first of all. So I'm going to go with that tree. So I click it, and then I get this little crosshair on my mouse. And then wherever I click, the tree will appear. So there is my tree. And then I can start using my color palette. So if I do want a slightly different green, for example, and we've got these themes as well. So we've got like an earthy theme that we can choose from. So this gives us some nice earthy colors to choose from if we wanted to really start homing into making really nice, pleasing environments to look at. So I'm going to go for this color and then just click down here, and I'm going to put that. And we've also got different options here. So we've got a position tool. So if you're used to seeing Blender, then you might have seen arrows like this, which allows you to move it along the XYZ axes, which is really handy for me because I never know which one's which. So I just drag it the direction that I want it to go. So if I want to move it left and right, then I just drag that left and right, and then it goes. Back is that one, and then up and down, we just drag it up and down like this. Okay, so I'm just going to move it probably there. That'll do. We've also got rotate. So if I want my tree to be completely upside down, it can be completely upside down. I've got scale too, so I can get this diamond shape in the middle and I can scale it larger or smaller. So there are loads of things that you can do here. And I've forgotten how to use duplicate. What do I do? Do I click on it once and then click it? What do I do? Somebody tell me. Have I done it?
You've done it. You've got to.
Oh, did I do it? Okay, I probably should have made sure it was the right size before I started, the right way around before I started duplicating it. There we go. That's a new one that we've just kind of got to a point where it's started to work. So it's not, I don't usually show that one to the young people with the pilot version. So yeah, you can duplicate things, which is quite fun to do as well. So I've got two objects now on my screen. I can also, I'm going to put a heart just there. So I've got a heart object and I'm going to put that there. So I imagine what you're doing right now is you've probably looking all around the objects in the menu and you're looking for really exciting things to use, and perhaps you've got quite a few things on your screen, but if you're following along, I suggest you get something small like a heart on your screen, because I'm just going to show you something really cool that you can do with the object. So I'll just give you a few seconds to do that. So all I did was I went to plus, I found the heart there, and then I just clicked it there. So just make sure it's visible on your screen. If you've moved around, press play so that you're looking at the right direction. And I've got my little heart here. Okay, I'm just checking the chat. I think everyone's good. So I've got a heart and I'm going to do a bit of coding with that heart. So I'm going to actually give it a name heart because I'm going to refer to it later. So I'm just going to click here, rename variable, and I'm going to rename it to heart. So now I've called it heart. And the first thing that I want to do is make it glow. So I'm going to go to materials, and then we've got this glow block here. So I'm going to drag that underneath there. And it's already saying glow heart because that's the last thing I did, so it remembers. But if yours doesn't, just make sure that whatever your item is called, make sure you've got the same names in those two boxes. And then when I press play, I have a glowing heart like so, which is quite fun to look at. The next thing that I'm going to do is add a particle effect. Now, particle effects are just so much fun. So I'm going to go to effects. And then we've got this I think this is the biggest block in Flock XR. I'm going to drag the particle effect block. And then again, just make sure that this drop down here says heart as well, or whatever you decided to call that item. So I've got heart, heart, heart. And if I just press play on that one, you'll start seeing I've got particle effects with arrows coming out. That's a new one. It used to be circles. So I think that the default one has changed since I last did this. Oh gosh, there's loads of them in here. What is that one? Is that bumblebees or butterflies? Well, let me just have a look. Is it bumblebees? These are all new. I'm excited myself because I haven't seen this. Oh, there's a mascot one. How cool. That looks a bit like a ghost, actually. It's a little bit like a ghost. We need that for Halloween. Yeah, there's some really fun things. Wow, this is quite a lot going on. I don't know which one to choose. Which one do I choose? Oh, fireworks. Right, let's go with fireworks. Okay, fireworks. I've chosen it. Sorry it took me so long. I was just too excited. And then you've got colours that you can use for the start colour and the end colour, and then it fades between those colours, which is quite nice. There we go. And there's loads of options. You can change the size, you can increase the force so it goes faster or slower, that you can play around with. But I mean, the young people tend to just stick with the shape and the colors, and then the ones that do want to dive a bit deeper start playing around with the other things as well. But this is pretty cool, isn't it? So you can see that quite quickly, um, you've started to build this 3D world. It's looking quite pretty. We've got a character dancing around on our screen. And yeah, there's quite a few code blocks on there, but you know, I'm not too intimidated. I know that I can click things and change things. And if I really want to, I can start digging into this code and looking at it more. But the young people really don't get overwhelmed with it at all, because they're just quite happy playing around with it, and building their scenes. So yeah, you can wander around, and I can use my arrow key to go somewhere else. And if I want to put a tree there, then I can just do that and look up at my tree. So they can quite happily spend a good hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours just building a scene, adding particle effects, making characters dance. And you can just see how exciting it is. And I'm sure you're having lots of fun just building your own scenes now, and doing lots of nice things. I think that is kind of the end of this part of the demonstration, but you have got about 5 minutes to just really play around with it and ask what you want in the chat, as you go along. So if you've tried something different, maybe you've experimented or something like that, or if you just want to share, I don't think they can put pictures in the chat, can they? I don't think so. I want to be able to see what you're doing. But yeah, if you want to describe what you've made, or which new object you've discovered in the chat, then you can do. But I'm just going to give you 5 minutes, just to have a go and just play around with it, and build a scene. So let's enjoy 5 minutes. We'll come back at 4:23, 4:22 even. But please feel free to ask questions in the chat, as you do that. Animation's not in the correct order and you don't know why. Let's have a look. So this was my animation. I've got a start, and all of my animation sequence is in that one start, in that one place. So I haven't put any animations or talking anywhere else. So that's what I meant by organizing your code. It helps if you do certain things in one place. So I've definitely done that. I've made my character, I've called it a name, Ember, and then all of my animations refer to the same name. And you can see I've got this await at the end, so you might not have that at the end potentially if you've got a problem there. So if it's set to start, then that could be causing you a problem. So just change that to await. And the blocks will run in the order that they are. So just see it as a sequence, like a list of instructions. So add the character, do the dance, say hello, do another dance, say I love running. So just make sure your sequence is in the right order, and you've got a wait there at the end, and that should hopefully solve the problem. Right, so we can't share in a cloud. And I mean, you can, if you've got a GitHub account, you can. There is a way of doing it. But we're trying to really think about safeguarding with young people. So we don't have cloud features. And teachers seem to really like that, actually. So it's very old school. You download your file to your computer using the download button. And then when you want it again, to add more to it, you just upload it back into the browser. So you open it into the browser when you want to carry on with it. that does mean that if you want to share, what you can do is you can download the file and then email it to somebody else, and then they can just open the file in their version of Flock. So there are ways to share. We just try to keep it quite tight, just because of safeguarding, because there are lots of issues with young people creating content and sharing it easily, and maybe having things that are inappropriate and stuff like that. So we really are trying to consider safeguarding with this. So yeah, it's just download, upload into the browser. We do have social media. The best place to look for us is Instagram, but it's on our Flip Computing account. I think, is Liz replying? Oh, Trace, yeah, we'll share the links. Oh yeah, the Discord is a great space. If you sign up to the Discord, you see everything in there. There's loads of project ideas and people to talk to get support as well. I'm going to give you 3 more minutes. Nothing's hush hush. Please share away. So what I tend to do is I do a little screen record, either of with the blocks or just of the canvas, and I just do a little screen record when I share things on social media. There is a way to do it. You can go to the design block there and go to, this is experimental, the tools, and you can get a screenshot or a GIF from there. So that's the way to do it in the tool, or just use your screen recording. I know in Windows it's Windows Shift R, and that allows you to record a video of your screen, like a section of your screen, and that's just an easy way to share it. And I think it's even easier on a Mac, but I don't know how to do it on a Mac because I'm not a Mac user. Liz might be able to tell you. So yeah, please do make something and share it. We'd absolutely love to see what you've been making. Oh, fly and glide, yes. Liz is very good at glide. She does lots of cool animations with glide, which is quite fun. So I'll give you 1 more minute and I think we'll move on to the next section at that point. Yeah, so our LinkedIn, we'd love it. Whatever you've made today, we'll probably stick a post on saying about the session, and it'd be lovely to see your little videos in there, or your screenshots. It would be really nice to see that. Okay. So thank you very much for taking part in the hands-on session. I hope you really, really enjoyed it. I did. I always do. I've done this so many times now, but I'm never bored by it ever, which is really unusual for teachers. When you've got year 7 classes in a row, and you're doing the same lesson over and over again, it can get a bit boring. But I just never get bored teaching this ever, because even though it's the same, it just all looks different, and also we're discovering new things about it all the time too, which is quite cool. Right, so that is the end of the hands-on session. I'm sure you can keep asking away if you want to as well, but I'm going to hand over to Liz now, who is going to do the next part.
I don't want to do the next bit. I want to just play. I got so involved with creating my world that I closed the Miro board link I needed, but never mind. We will recover from that. Okay, fab. I think there's kind of 2 people in the world when it comes to Miro boards. There's the ones who zoom about and use all the interactive elements, and then there's people like me. So we'll see how this goes. But we've created a Miro board with 3 questions on it, and I thought we'd take it in different sections. So for this first section, we would really love it if you could just spend the next 5 minutes answering part 1 of question 1 with the sticky notes that are there. So what we'd like to know is a little bit more about you, so what your role is and what 3D tools you use, because that is something we always get asked by young people. You know, what careers are available to me, what professional tools do people use. So that's really, really interesting for them. And we also would like your thoughts as well on kind of what message you would like to share with our kind of 18 to 14-year-old group about the games industry today, and how education could provide a better path through to it as well. So I'm going to hopefully paste the link to the Miro board in the chat, or else my Flock project, we'll see. If you haven't used Miro before, so you can zoom by scrolling in on your mouse or by using the buttons in the bottom right corner, and then you can pan across by holding the right mouse button as you move as well. So you're looking for the section that is question 1 about me. You can grab some post-it notes off the stack. I put a big star arrow in case that's useful as well. I'm sure, like everyone else, it's just me that has issues, and everyone else is fine. But if you've got any problems, just shout. And yeah, if you could answer those 4 questions, that'd be amazing. Thank you. Okay, if you're still writing things, you can carry on adding them. Part two was to grab some dots from the side. And if anyone's written anything, particularly in B, C, or D, that you really want to amplify, then if you grab a dot and stick it on the post-it note as well, and then we'll capture that. But yeah, if you want to continue adding your thoughts, we'll do that for another couple of minutes as well. I just love all the passion coming through. It's so amazing to read, and yeah, like thank you. This like completing this activity is just so useful to us and so inspiring for the young people as well. Um, if I just move us on to the next question now, so this is like the other piece. So this is where we've got like a few asks, and we'd love you to add your details to any of these areas that you'd like to contribute towards. But also let us know if there's anything that you would like from us as well. So in our resources, we try and spotlight careers and individuals as often as we can. We like to quote people as well within the industry or trying to get into the industry, and just keep making the links between professional tools and careers and jobs and bring it all to life for young people. So for this part, if you could grab a post-it note, if there's any areas that you would love to contribute to, can you put in your name and either email address or a social media handle, or some way that we can communicate with you, and we'll follow it up with you as well and make sure that we kind of get your message across to young people. That'd be great. And don't feel like you can only do one as well. So if you really want to contribute in lots of different ways, that's awesome. So yeah, so similar to question one, grab a post-it note, and put your details in there. And I'll just give you another kind of 4 minutes to do that, and then to finish off as well. Okay, I'm gonna move on now. I'm gonna keep the board open for the rest of the session. So if there's anything else you want to add, feel free to add it at any point. Also, take a read of what everyone else is saying, so because it's absolutely fantastic. There's a third box there for any comments that you want to add as well. So feel free to add those too. And I am now gonna hand back over to Tracy. She's going to share more about the Flock XR community and the opportunities to engage. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. So yeah, it's been fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. And all your input will just feed into what we do in the future. We always say that we really try and keep close to industry. And some of your stories are really interesting because a few of you have talked about kind of moving into gaming, and we're really interested about those stories as well, and like kind of why you didn't go into gaming in the first place, because we hear that a lot from women who kind of don't go into gaming or tech originally. They don't find those ways when they're younger. So thank you so much. So we're going to talk a little bit about other ways you can get involved. So try Flock XR. Well, you've done that one. You've done that one today. You could run a workshop with FlockXR as an ambassador. So this could be with young people, or it could be with women who might be interested in gaming. So this is one of the things we didn't realize about FlockXR when we started out. People who work in kind of further education colleges and work with adult learners said to us, actually, we have a lot of people who just are interested in gaming, but aren't ready to jump straight into Unity and Unreal. That's just a massive leap if you haven't got tech skills already. So people are talking about using FlockXR in that way. So you could absolutely run a workshop with young people or with adults and get more people interested in creating creating games or with creative technology. If you are technical and you write code, or you create 3D models, or you like writing documentation or examples, we would love you to get involved with the project. It's an open source project. We give it away for free. We're always looking for volunteers who can contribute in all sorts of different ways. And you've already heard about the Discord community. So yeah, there we have a community building, and we have lots of interesting discussions about new features and what we're doing next. So that's how you can get involved in, and we've shared our links, and you've got ways to kind of follow us and keep in touch. Now, I think I'm going to ask Rebecca, can you briefly talk about our structured curriculum, and then Liz about our club session packs as resources for getting started?
Yeah, sure. So the structured curriculum is tried and tested in classrooms. At the moment in the West Midlands, Dudley, I'm from near Dudley, and I make sure that I test that in local schools. And it's really, really important that we do that to make sure that, when you create learning resources sort of outside the classroom, it's very easy to kind of get in your own head and think, oh yeah, this will work, and then just push something out there. We absolutely don't want to do that. We want to make sure that things are piloted in the classroom, in real classrooms with young people, so we can see, oh well, that didn't work, or that worked, let's do more of that. This took too long, this was too short, so we can really kind of gauge how it's working in the classroom and make things better. And the pilot for the year 7 structured curriculum, the first unit that we've launched, it actually changed probably 4 or 5 times the structure of the whole unit to really, really get it right. So it is really, really well tested. So we've got a whole unit for year 7, which gets them started. But actually, we've got lots of primary school teachers that have seen it, and they're quite happily using it in their primary classrooms. We think kind of year 4 is kind of like the youngest. It has been tried with year 3 and a bit younger, but year 4 seems about right if you're going quite young there. There's a free taster pack, so you get to see lesson 1 and 2, and there's a recording of me teaching the entire lesson. So it really helps teachers with their professional development, so they can watch me teach it and see how to teach it. But also, if you've got young people that might be on long-term sick, or if the teacher's absent for something, for example, then a supply teacher can use it to still get high quality lessons in the classroom, so they don't miss out. So yeah, the whole thing can just be done by me on the video, and they can just follow along, or the teacher can use it as CPD. So it's quite well structured in that sense, and it's really editable as well. All the files are editable, so teachers go in and personalize it and add their own bits to it as well if they want to. This is something that we are going to really start building up over the next year or so, and really getting a full structured curriculum all the way from year 5 to year 9, and maybe pushing the edges of those age groups as well as we move along. But yeah, our sort of launch unit is that year 7 one that you can take a look at. And I'll pass over to Liz.
I can't find unmute. Yeah, so we've got some club sessions as well. So I've run code clubs and coder dojos in a tech space, a primary school, a community hall, and a prison. And each of those venues have lots of different things that they need, lots of requirements, lots of problems with tech or connectivity, always different things. So we've created the resources to be really adaptable to whatever situation you're in and whoever you're running the club sessions with, the informal sessions. So we have both slides and PDF instructions that you can use. We've got printable checklists and interactive checklists as well for people who like to follow along and check off the tasks as they go. We've got some printables that supplement the projects where you can use them for planning or use them for further design afterwards as well. So there's lots of different resources in each session. So there's 2 different ones to get you started. And yeah, you can just download those for free on the website and have at it.
Thanks, Liz. And yeah, the third thing we've got on there is just remixing a demo. So some people just like to get stuck in and get a project and start changing it. And we've got lots of demos built into Block, and we'll be updating those for the new release. So those are some ways to get started. And I probably should mention, like Becky, that the unit you mentioned, there's lots of creating games in there, right? That's a lot of what they end up doing. Yeah.
Yep.
So we have ways to join the community. So we've shared various links, but if you're quick, you can snap a QR code there. So I'll just give you a moment with that. We have a mailing list. We've talked about our Discord community, and we also have a monthly meetup. So this is where our kind of growing community comes along, and we have 15 minutes where we give updates, and then we have a 15-minute chat live for those who stay and join the session live and stay and talk with us afterwards. So that's turning out to be a really kind of fun way of connecting with our community. We're looking for anyone who'd love to get involved. He said, if this is something you think you're interested in as part of your Women in Games ambassador role, get in touch with us and we'll make sure you've got everything you need to get started. And yeah, now we've just got a few minutes left. We've done quite a lot of Q&A as we've gone. We've had lots of questions in the chat, but there is a Q&A feature. So if you want to add any questions in the Q&A, please go ahead and do that, or just type them in the chat and we'll pick those up.
Yeah, can I just point out, I think a few of you have noticed in the comments as well, I have just shared, I made a quick LinkedIn post. For some reason, it hasn't tagged Women in Games, even though I said I did tag Women in Games. I don't know what's happened with that LinkedIn post, but it's there. So you can open up that LinkedIn post. And if you have got anything like a picture or a video of what you've made and you share it in there, this just really helps us get the message out. You know, we all know what it's like with social media, getting comments, getting likes, getting shares, getting reposts. This is absolutely going to help us out. So just a quick like, it is really just going to help boost us and get this message out there. So there we go. Oh, okay, so Women in Games might need to approve it. Okay, fair enough. That might be what it was. Even our own handles hadn't come up, I don't know, but I have added them in the comments, so you should be able to find us on LinkedIn pretty easily from that link. And yeah, just a like, a repost, that really is awesome, just to help us out. Have we got any questions in that time? Not yet. I think we've been answering as we go, haven't we?
We have. So yeah, if anyone has got a question, yeah, in the chat, we'll just give it a moment. But yeah, as Becky said, we've answered quite a lot of your questions as we've gone along. I think one of the things I'd kind of highlight is, in your beginner session, you used a lot of features that weren't so interactive, but it's got sort of full interactivity. We showed the little game at the beginning where you go around collecting jelly beans and things. So we've got all that kind of gaming capability. You can interact, you can talk to characters, you can make things move around, you can make things fall under gravity. We've got all those kind of features that a games engine would have, but just made that bit more accessible so that beginners can make something really quick that's interactive. So yeah, that's kind of Flock XR. So thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything you'd like to finish with, Liz?
Just thank you. Yeah, it's been amazing. I've loved reading all your comments, and it's great to connect with some of you already on LinkedIn. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
And Rebecca, the closing words?
Yeah, just thank you very much. That was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. It's been brilliant. And yes, do keep in touch with us. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we want, to change perspectives.
Yeah, that's really good. Great. Right. Thank you so much. And I think we'll say goodbye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.